Hey guys and ladies, I'm back here again, and I'm going to be creating a glitchy um, effect on the default monkey for the today's Nodevember. So first thing we're gonna do is, well, I'm gonna just so you can see what I'm doing. I'm gonna activate screencast keys, and yeah, select everything with A, and then press delete, and I'm just Shift A M M. Will open a monkey. Notice like the M's underlined and then the monkey is underlined. So Shift A M M gives you a monkey. Fastest way to make a monkey in Blender. There you go. So I'm going to go into preferences, and yeah, as you can see, I've changed this to right click and spacebar to search, because I won't be using place so much. I mean, I can do shift spacebar instead in that case. And then for add-ons, I'm going to use Node Wrangler, and yeah, so that I can use nodes quicker. And there's a few useful shortcut keys that come with that. And yeah, and if I look at my nodes here, if I make a new material, we can see this is curved, and that's setting in the themes right here in the viewport, where you just go into node editor and increase your new curving. Otherwise it's straight. Here it's curved. And yeah, let's get started. Let's make this cool kind of glitchy effect. Let's try to make it cool. I'm going to be changing the geometry around and controlling that with the shaders. And so to do that, you need to use cycles. It doesn't work with Eevee. And yeah, and once you have that and you have this material, you can, in the material properties, you can go down to settings and change displacement to displacement only. And there isn't any shape changing here because we need to plug something in it to move around. So notice X, Y, Z. So we see the axes here. X is across, Y is back, and Z is up. So yeah, so if we look here, I guess it's a little hard to see. So maybe we can add a light, or you know what? I think I'm actually going to use an emission shader for this. So if we plug that into the surface, we'll get something good. Yeah. Yeah, me too. I think it'll be pretty cool. At first, it was like the prompt. It was like glitch or yeah. And welcome, by the way, Blaze, and anybody else who's watching. But yeah, I thought, yeah, how do I do something original? But then it's like I'm overthinking it. Let's just make a cool glitch. I think, yeah, you can get some cool effects from that. So I'm going to use. Yeah, so as we can see, this kind of moves it around. And to get that sort of, I'm going to do other things to get kind of a wiggle, and we'll incorporate that. But I think the first step is moving the overall shape back and forth. I want to get this kind of chromatic aberration. And it's, yeah, so it's almost like there are three monkeys here, or color aberration. So that's just like the splitting of the colors. All color values on the computer are made up of RGB, red, green, and blue. And yeah, so that's what you see there. You see that sometimes with certain kinds of lights, or with a prism, except that usually reveals the whole rainbow. But yeah, for computers, those are the main colors those are the colors that you use to make all colors. If you zoom into your the pixels on your screen, that's what the colors are, right? So, anyways, now that we're all caught up on that, let's. Yeah, let's we'll get this around. I'm actually going to be using this timeline today because I'm gonna. I think it's, it'd be a missed opportunity not to animate this a bit. So I'm just gonna make it 90 frames, and if I look here, for printing, this frame rate is 24 frames. Huh, interesting. Let's make it 29.97. 30 frames per second. You'd think you want that nice round number, but this is kind of the default for typical movies when you're rendering stuff out. And yeah, so that means the number of frames, like, so 29 frames between, yeah, almost 30 frames is going to be a second. Hey, Dragus, welcome back. Good to have you as always. Yeah, appreciate you guys always coming in to check this out. So I'm going to use could actually use like a wave texture, I think. Like if I plug this into here, whoa, okay. So that's going up and down. I actually want it to go across. All right. Yeah, so how about I use a really big wave so we can see what that's doing right here. Oh, and let's make it go across, so Y, wait, no, yeah, X. So along the X gradient, the wave is being made. So that's the only coordinates that exists on, so that's why X is going upwards and Y goes across. Where, you know, it might seem like that'd be the opposite. Yeah, right? Yeah, good prompt too, right? Yeah. Yeah, just kind of went on Google and yeah, PureRef, by the way, is super useful for reference. It just makes it easy to organize, and you can overlay it over, you know, whatever you're working on, so that I can have this while I'm working on Blender. And yeah, so that's this is super useful. And the more reference you have, the more you can take from. Just creatively freeing. As long as you're jumping between different subjects an appropriate amount, you can, you know, add more authenticity and to like your own pieces. And yeah, so reference like this helps a lot. Yeah, so let's yeah, and so we actually so why is it just gonna look at this without displacement? So it's going, yeah, so it's going across, and then if we did Y, it's going like that. I think we actually want it to be going vertically. And yeah, so I guess they don't give you the option with the wave texture. Oh, they do. Here's Z. Okay, duh. I guess I don't use that often, so yeah, there you go. And so again, we're going in from this angle. That's really just what's going to show the final thing. Like, we could use these as well, but I don't think we'll be using that so much. Yeah, and so you can see we're getting a zigzag pattern. And let's up the subdivisions right now. This is just the regular amount of definition. And yeah, if I go to solid mode, you know, the displacement won't show because that only shows up in cycles. And I'm going to subdivide this. And yeah, it's really nice. Like, this model is a great example of like how the loops can enforce certain things in the right way. Like, it's still visually appealing when you add subdivision. But in this case, I kind of like, I think with the glitch, I want it to stay sharp, and then sort of, you know, if I add the curves myself in the animation of the distortion, I think that can sort of better showcase the effect. Yeah, an optimal distance is super useful for optimizing the subdivisions, I think. So like, if it's far from the screen, it'll reduce the number of subdivisions, which is pretty awesome. And also they got rid of this. I think maybe this was in the newest update, or maybe the last one, but they used to have scene statistics down here, so you can always see that this has 2,000 verts, and I think that's before the subdivision. So if I turn that down, that doesn't change down there. But yeah, that's a really cool thing. So I'm going to save right here, even though I haven't done much, but best not to do everything again, right? I'm doing this live. So if I use a mix shader, we can control this displacement. This is at gray. If I turn it all the way down, that'll be no displacement. Yeah, so now it's going there. I think I actually want to, so I want to use linear light. Because linear light will shift it in both directions. Yeah, but I want it to rapidly move from side to side. This is going to be a sorry, I'm just kind of thinking this through. So this wave texture is going to be, I guess, going in either direction. If I use a sine wave, so this has this effect where it goes up and down. It's actually really a wave texture. Yeah, I mean that's what the wave texture is based on, the sine wave, and that's for the same reason you won't get so like here this is mapped from top to bottom, but you won't get a clean map unless this is pi. It's clear if you look at like a plane. But this is going in the z direction, so I have to in edit mode. Oh. If I rotate that, so we can see this, it stops there, but yeah, if it's a power of pi, if it's a multiple of pi, we can, pi, pi's there, yep. But this is slightly off. There's a sharp line if I were to copy this over up there. Okay, cool, yeah, take care of yourself. Happy to have you, but, awesome. So, if I use, maybe we'll make that a little denser. We can adjust that. It doesn't actually need to be seamless here, but that's just a nice little tip. So if I'm going to use add, so that'll change the amount, and then sine, like I showed you, a little cycle, or it should. Well, yeah, let's turn it all the way up. So this is going to be pretty exaggerated, but yes, now we're getting that nice back and forth, right? And it's going from negative to positive as well, which we want. But I kind of want it to affect the influence on the x-axis. So so I'm actually not going to plug it into here. This is going to be the base, and because it goes from negative to 0 to positive to 0 to negative, back and forth, I'm not going to multiply it right here, and so that'll give me a nice wiggle. So now we're getting that, and that's a bit extreme, I think. So I want this part to be settled. We're going to do a lot of more crazy stuff, so I think if we do too much all at once, I want to limit that. So I think this number is also based on pi, rotation is, so it's all in radians, and that's alternative to degrees for measuring angles, and pi corresponds to like 180 degrees in the rotation. And so I think pi is like 1 maybe, and then times 2. Yeah, okay, so that's the full cycle right there, or 3, or 180 to 3, like halfway around to around, always goes at 0. So I think pi divided by 2 is probably the most extreme. So we can adjust that, just bring that in, and so let's actually, pi has its, so let's actually multiply it. So pi is right here, and so we'll set, if I have a value node, I'm just kind of breaking this up. I could like enter, you can, I was showing you, like you can type in pi times 2, and you get pi times 2, which is 3.14, double 3 is 6. So you can see that transfers there, and if you click on it, it retains even more of the decimal points, even though those don't really matter to us so much. And so that's really helpful. But for it to be animated, I can use this driver, and so this is actually referencing the frames right here. So when it's at frame 1, it's 2, and then so I can go up and down and adjust right there, which is really handy for animating the shaders. And just if I reference that, I don't have to keyframe it. I can just have the frame reference where point to where things should be at a given time. And I'm again going to just, this is just to get it in that weird pi unit that the sine wave is referring to. But this will pretty much, I'll change this to multiply again. So this is what I'm going to use to adjust the speed, because, so just to go over this is calling per frame, and then this is just making it so that sine sort of has better grasp on it, I guess. so it's more predictable that I know at so many frames it's going to repeat it at that length. And that's not totally necessary with this glitch. I could just go totally random with it, but I think that's a good way to know what you're referencing. You know, I think, you know, sometimes overthinking it stuff can get in the way, and I think a lot of these tutorials could be an example of that. But yeah, so you see with a small number, it's going to be slower, and I think bigger number, you'll get something faster. Yeah. Yeah, so you can tell it's crunching the numbers, right? And then so we have this driver. We could also have this scroll, kind of like an old VHS, with like the static, you know. We could, you know, add another noise texture for the static. So yeah, and maybe I could do that with the phase offset right here, where that just brings it down. I think I might just look real quick at a VHS just to see what it looks like, see that video. But yeah, not more than 15 seconds. I think that's like a copyright issue. Okay, cool. So if I just use, yeah, I mean, I could use a noise texture. Yeah, maybe we can base it off to this or something, but okay, here's what I'll do. I'll use, what am I doing? Okay, I'm gonna make some cells for it to fill, so it'll be all pixely. I'm gonna do this from scratch. So if I use these coordinates and just I'm just distorting it. Let's just change this to noise texture after all that. So you know, they'll just give it some randomness. Yeah, maybe we could use another wave texture, just put that in there. So like and multiply, sure. And that'll kind of, and then we can increase this a bunch. Yeah, so we can see what this is doing. And yeah, let's add the scrolling. I think that's really going to add a really cool effect to it. And we can, to get the driver into this 3 value thing, the issue with this is it'll drag diagonally. I mean, it'll interpret this as 3 values. Yes, and we don't want that. Notice it turns like totally white because this value is 8, and these are want values from, you know, when you have larger values, it, yeah, gets kind of like that. But yeah, to get into that, we're going to use a combine x, y, z, and we can plug this. We want it to go up and down, or I think, do we want it to go up or down? Let's see. I feel like it goes up. That's let's just try GIF. It's just kind of like fuzz. Just I'll just have it go up. I think that'll, yeah, it'll give us a good effect. So right now this is probably really fast, so let's again just use multiply right here, and maybe make this really steady. So like let's see 0.1. We can see like what this wave texture is doing. Oh, it's so small, and it's set to Z. We forgot to change that. Yeah, so let's bring that down to like that. Um, it doesn't look like it's moving around, but it is affecting its coordinates. You know, this is so repetitive that I think you have to get pretty low to actually notice the change. So there's kind of that shift. 102. Let's just make it really, yeah. It could be the barbershop pull effect, but it looks like it's like really, like it's going down. Let's try it without displacement, just so we're not distracted. So yeah, it's going down. Yeah, and we can just fix that by changing this to value to a negative. Yeah. I think I'd like this to be smoother as well, so I'm gonna decrease this. Yeah, I kind of like that. Yeah. And with this sine wave, we can use this to drive the color. I think that'd be maybe would help with the make it like chromatic aberration ish, you know. So I think I'm not sure, like I feel like transparent shader and translucent are polar opposites. Like transparent, I guess you're getting a shadow here, so but like I could put a light and it oh, because this is gray, so if I think if I make this black, oh, this is translucent, my bad. So we want transparent. So translucent is where light actually passes through it and takes some of the color with it, but we want transparent right here. HF, yeah, transparent. So yeah, so it gets us that result, and I think if yeah, and so we're getting some of the those dark values because this other shader output. So right now this is just a transparent shader, and as you can see, there's not much going through it. Yeah, and so if we combine this, we get yeah, something like that. And so this, so if it's black, there's less transparency. So we want it to be pretty much totally transparent. And what do we want to drive this? I think the Fresnel, which is the when it's something reflects. This is used a lot to control reflections because things are more reflective as they face away from you. If you think about water, if you look directly down into a pond, you can see straight through it. If you look far away, you can see the reflection. Same thing on a road, where the road's reflective when you look far away, and you know it clearly doesn't look reflective when you look at it. And that's how that mirage effect happens. It's all because Fresnel, which I think is a French word. And I've talked about this in a previous tutorial, but it's just you know, in case anybody's new to that. So yeah, so we have this transparent material, and let's use the sine wave to drive the color. And right now, so this is mapped to, as we said, it goes up to, I think, let's just use a fresh sine wave driven by the frame, because it's still, you know, it's going to change as this one changes, but these multiplications are different, so we don't have to deal with weird mappings. So it goes negative to negative pi to positive pi, I believe. So I think if we use a map range, we can, I just want to take I wanted to bring it to 0 to 1, so negative pi to, it can't be capital. I often will accidentally hit capital, caps lock, and then but it doesn't seem like it's going to black. Could be entering this wrong. let's just review sine graph. Oh, that's sorry. Graph, not graphics. Yeah, so the period starts at 0 and then yeah, so yeah, period is 2 pi, but in that time it goes from positive. Okay, yeah, so I should change it to 2 pi. I think that's my mistake here, because that's the full period. That's when it goes from 0 to positive to 0 to negative pi, then to 0. So we need that extra dip into negative. We weren't getting that here. I think. Let's see. Well, I'm not sure. Let's use yeah, so what I'm trying to do is get to these negative values in here. Yeah, maybe I can just, if it's going from, so at 0, so it's an x, so this is time is y. Okay, so at 3.14, it's gonna be, maybe I'm doing this backwards. Okay, yeah, getting a little tripped on that. So I'm just gonna improvise. I think if I add pi here, let's just see how this looks. I'm going to use 3 constant value colors right here. So RGB. So blue will be, I'll make blue on the left. Well, now let's have it in order. So R, G, and then let's bring these other ones down. And yeah, and then if we look at the mix shader and plug this in to the emission, yeah, we're getting that. I think, yeah. I'm noticing, like, here's the darker blue, but then there's like a lighter blue in between. So maybe we could add, like, include that other value, because we're not going to get the effect. These blend into each other, and we're not going to get that with just a single geometry. You could if it's going fast enough. So maybe we could experiment with that. But so blue, I think, yeah, half a green. It's pretty much exactly what that is. And so there's yellow between red and green. So actually, if you increase green, you get closer to yellow right there. So 5. Yeah, so it looks like it's only, okay, we're getting some yellow there. I think it's going kind of fast, so I'm gonna slow that down. So 1 divided by 3, let's divide by 10. Okay, so now we're only getting that. Cool. Okay, but this is going to affect the speed. If we multiply this before. Yeah, we don't want a negative value, otherwise nothing will show up. So that's what was happening there. Let's see. Let's just experiment with the shader. Let's try changing this to just a diffuse shader. Normally, I mean, it just you might as well use a color mix shader if you're using two different emission shaders, since they only have one value, so there's not much you need to copy there. But let's make that more extreme. So IOR stands for index of refraction. That's related to the position of the surface. That's something that you also adjust with glass, because that also relates to how things reflect and refract. Because it has to do with the surface position, the surface normal. And normal is the direction of the surface. So maybe we could use this same color ramp, plug in the color, but then offset it. Let's see if this works. So multiply. So right here we have. Actually, I want this in here and this in here. Yeah, so red, and then this is all the way over here. So let's decrease that difference. So now it'll just be slightly off from it. So now it's only like a color away, typically. I mean, there might be some exceptions because these ranges are, I think this is a slighter difference, but yeah. Could adjust the spacing, make it a little nicer. And yeah, maybe we could make this inner part less saturated, make it closer to white, maybe. I'll just use a mix shader, yeah, because I'm gonna go with making it closer to white. Yes. I always like to adjust things with HSV. This was kind of an exception because I was getting those sharp colors and I knew I wanted something rooted in the RGB system. But hue, you know, I find that more intuitive, controlling what color it is, how much color, and how light or dark. That's what hue saturation value corresponds to. Seems like that's not it's not offset. That one's yellow. And then, what if we just made this like shoot up as it got further along? I kind of like that idea. So let's yeah. If we made this a Voronoi texture, just separate this so that it only has the z-axis. We'll get those vertical lines, then we can control the variation of that line thickness. So that's kind of cool. And then we could maybe even use those colors a bit to add more texture. Yeah, so I think I'll use and in this case I'll use distance instead. That's really closer to what wave was doing. Yeah, if I turn this down, we have a wave texture, so that's kind of nice. Yeah, so and then we can see that scrolling. And the texture's more distinct, so you can kind of see clear what it's doing. If I decrease that, 0.001. Yeah, so it's going down slowly. So let's make that negative 0.043. So 3 times the speed. And yeah, so when combining this, linear light is nice for pushing things up, for adding more variation, because everything below, so when black, white is at 0, 0, and black is at 1. Wait, no, sorry. Let me just say that again. White is at white is at 1, 1. Yeah, white is 1, black is 0, and with linear light, it pushes everything above 0.5 up and everything below 0.5 down. Thanks, Kaj. Appreciate it. Hope your day's going well. Yeah, so if I use this, get that. Yeah, and then in the final shader we can see, yeah, we're getting something like that. And kind of a variation. There's more color in it than this, which maybe it's nice to have that contrast in this. I mean, just in black and white. But yeah, we could increase the emission of this, then that makes the other part opaque. We can make this a sharp value just to make sure. So if we make that greater than, so that there won't be any bleeding of the emission texture when we turn it up. And then when we turn this up, we lose some of the color affects that, just as a normal light would. And yeah, maybe we can add a yeah, just some context. Let's just extrude this up. Switch to plane select with 3, just like that. And yeah, we should have placed a camera a while ago, so we have an idea for what this looks like. We want this to look like, and sort of focus on making it look good from that angle. But yeah, here I am doing it now, and you can bring that out. And if you don't want these corners in the back, you can just bevel them. So select all, Control B to bevel. You can use the scroll wheel to add. Whoa, don't do that. Okay. Yeah, so if I drag this with Control B and then adjust this, we have that, and then we could select all of it and search shade smooth. It might be F3 on yours, but I'm using spacebar to look things up. Yeah, and yeah, it's just something to change the preferences if you saw in the beginning. Yeah, and yeah, so right here. Yeah, and this is looking really pixelated, but that's just you know how cycles works. It iterates over surfaces and then takes a bunch of samples, and the more samples you get, the smoother the results are going to be. Yeah, so we have that. I think I want kind of a smooth value here. Why not get so much of one, because this is kind of sharp angles, but okay, let's focus on the Fresnel right here. So bring that down. Let's use a color ramp to fine tune instead, so we can get smoother values. Yeah, so that'll, you know, it still won't be able to access those inner parts, but now we have a nicer gradient. Maybe we could use cardinal instead, where it's a curve that starts here and ends there. A little preferable over, say, B-spline, because the values bleed into this area. Yeah, so let's plug that in here. Yeah, so we're getting some red. Maybe it's a little too subtle. So let's put a value node, a little pin in between there, just that, and yeah. So yeah, so we're not getting much there. So let's. So we want more of the white. That's what we want. Yeah. So we kind of want to do the opposite of what I was trying to do with it there. Let's bring these closer. Let's see how that looks. I keep wanting to go in the other direction, but just bring it in more. Yeah, so if this looks pretty cool. This background's pretty distracting, so I'm gonna hide it for now. We can add some waves going across it. We already have noise texture right here. Oh, we could just, yeah, let's, this noise texture is also scrolling. Yeah, because it's distorting it right there. We ended up combining those two. But we can just use another noise texture, and it'll, yeah, and this could pretty much plug it right in here. We get the same result. We don't need this extra add node. And we know we're just putting this side to side, so that I could actually go there. So we don't really need this node right here. Just use combine XYZ. Now this should be vertical nose. Oh, okay. All right. So I guess, yeah, we're just adding the position there. So never mind. Good to think through that, but yeah, we're shifting it with the texture over there. So you get that scrolling. Just the scale. Wait. Oh yeah. This should be in here. And then yeah. So everything we did previously should have gone unchanged. And let's add kind of a distortion to this vertically. So the only thing we're adding here, I'm using this mix shader so we can control the factor here. And we have that. So let's, yeah, so the issue here is it's actually adding like other values than blue, which corresponds to Z. So we have to separate this so that only Z is happening. I think Okay, so we're still getting these distortions. Well, actually, if I'm using this node, it's only adding a single value, so maybe that's better in this case. Let's see. If I use this Voronoi, and then yeah, and if we increase the detail, you know, this is like a fractal, basically, so like it's noise within noise within noise. So scale, detail, and roughness are really just 3 different levels of the same effect. They kind of build off on top of each other, so you wouldn't have roughness without detail. Yeah, and the thing right here is that we're getting, it's going to be the same thing as it wipes through, and I think, and that's a cool effect. But I think let's make this scroll as well. So this is, in this case, we're just adding to Z. Yeah. Yeah. So let's use generate coordinates, combine X, Y, Z, and just kind of shift it over. Yeah, so if I, yeah, so let's do what we did over there. So let's add vector add, and then this is to access the coordinates. So we could plug this into the driver here. And if we're going to put it into X and Y, so I think that's what kind of, it's going to shift. So now we're getting this, and it's going really fast right here. If you look at this, so you pretty much every frame it's like a totally new thing, and that's cool. You know, that's what static's about. But maybe we could decrease that a bit. We could see what it looks like if it's a little more fluid. So let's just multiply that down. Yeah, so we're getting that scrolling. I don't know, I might like that more. Let's just see. It's all about just how this, we're just going by feel, like, you know, how the end result feels. So yeah. The difference here is like this is pixelated. So, and we can get that effect. Let's just if we use this Voronoi texture, that's a pretty simple way of doing that. From our view, we could use, I think, the camera. So now it's based on our point of view, but the mapping, the amount that it stretches is based on the aspect ratio of the camera, how wide this is, and how tall. So if I decrease the randomness, we have these pixels here. We have pixels, and cool thing about that is this is right here. We have position, and so if we plug something into this vector, this is just the camera, the texture coordinates plugged into here, just pixelated. And yeah, so we can, this might not work the way we expect, but let's just try plugging this into here. And let's see. Yeah. And if we turn this up, right, okay, so right here, it's different from what we expect because we're using camera instead of generated. Yeah, let's see how it looks if we just use this. We can decrease that quite a bit, so let's try 50. 10. Okay. 40. Oh, so we're using position. That's why we're getting, yeah. So actually 100 was probably not that bad. But yeah, we can just, yeah, but we're getting pixels here. Yeah, maybe these streaks are a bit pronounced, or we can make the darker part thicker, or whatever. Or maybe we could put this over this. Why not? And so this will control. I mean, we can control the brightness with the strength, but I'm thinking. Yeah, I mean, there's this. That's pretty much what we have here. But let's see. How can we make this even better? If I use this noise texture, plug in a multiply, and use greater than, get some. Okay, so that's just regular noise. Maybe, yeah, we want the formula here. Yeah, so that's that's really messed up, right? So that's good. That's what we want. It'd be nice if we had more of these values in here. I guess we're losing track of this original value. So let's turn down linear light. So it reflects the original. Let's remove, let's turn this down so that's not doing anything. And we could use, maybe we could do the opposite of multiply, so that would be screen, so that makes things lighter, whereas multiply just makes has black take over. And if I change this to less than, we're approaching it from the opposite angle. So now we have black and we have white, and we have these other values that are being added in between. Maybe I can just make this difference in hue, so it just kind of shifts the hue over. So let's look at a freeze frame. Yeah, so that's right next to each other, yellow and green, red and green. Yeah. So blue and green. Nice, congratulations. What are you getting? What'd you make? Oh, it's this. Why isn't this plugged into anything, huh? I think it should be in this. Yeah, so that looks pretty messed up. I think call that a success. Cool. Let's try it in camera. Yeah. So these aren't true pixels, like these variation pixels. Keep in mind that's cycles. It's funny we're in an exercise where we have to distinguish that, but yeah, that's yeah. So yeah, we're gonna get this distortion because the geometry of this. Maybe we could use window. Yeah. And this is actually dependent on the frame. So yeah, there is some like distortion due to the geometry with that other one. But yeah, and this will change like if I do this, so it's kind of like if I make this thin, you see how that narrows out. How do I find my art style? Great question. I think you just make art. Figure out the things you like. I mean, the exercise I'm going to be doing next month, it's a lot of that is going to be focused on figuring out like, what things do I think matter to other people? What things do I enjoy making? Like what kind of media do I like doing? And then, when you just sort of make stuff, you know, whenever you make something, you just prioritize what kind of details you want for the end result. Um, so, you'll so what would happen if I just do this? But yeah, so it's yeah, it really depends. I mean, you find, when you're making art, you're just prioritizing what matters to you. You figure out what matters to you most and what things to attack first. You focus on the face. What parts of the face do you express? How many lines do you use the nose? And that depends on like how much time do you have, how much interest do you have, and and it's not. It doesn't have to look photorealistic because all the things that will make you unique are the different ways that you interpret that, and you'll just find that through making accidents, and then you'll see what people comment on, and they're probably not going to comment on the things that are right. They're going to comment on the things that look kind of weird or make the thing seem more expressive or something. Actually, I mean, this missive, I don't need that many samples, and awesome new feature. I mean, within the last year. Do I like realism? It's awesome. I mean, if it's realism is really impressive. If you look at Johann Westermark or something, he does these photorealistic paintings. But also, common misconception is realism is actually like historically in art history. Sorry, a little art nerd coming out, but naturalism is conveying natural forms, doing realistic things, whereas realism is realistic stories, I think, realistic subjects, topic. It's more about the subject matter, whereas naturalism is about having realistic figures and lighting and stuff, and perspective. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, it's but yeah, for like like hyperrealism and stuff, which is popular. I it's it really depends on what you're saying, you know. Yeah. So if I change this, it'll change the maps of all those. So I actually have to put a scale on both sides of this, and then use divide, and then by 1 right here. So this will just make it smaller with whatever value put here. So let's use a value node right there. Yeah, I guess, backgrounds are a good presentation for that. I think another month I'd probably do backgrounds. This month I'm not going to start until December. And I've just been kind of busy, so hopefully I'll have something ready by then, and I'm excited to share that. Maybe let's make these closer so we see more of these. Backgrounds. Focus on. Yeah, I mean, you can just focus on the things that you find really. The things yeah, just do what you like, and yeah, I think if you want to present a character, and if you want to be focused on being a character artist, you don't need to focus on the environment so much. Maybe make sure you nail down the lighting, and like setting up a camera first. You know, when you're making stuff like I didn't do this here, but in this one, but like in general, you start with the camera, and so that you know what angles your figure is going to start from. Like you could block out the form. Okay, I'm gonna have these angles. I'll focus on these details, and yeah, and it's so different now with real-time rendering that you can just very quickly. Where did I go wrong here? You have like a preview of what your render is going to look like. Yeah, I'm going to one of my next few videos I'm hoping will come out soon is going to be on different base meshes to start from, and that isn't the whole character. You know, cloth is also part of that, and I will be talking about that as well. But yeah, essentially for topology, yeah, maybe I can do that live. I can't make any promises because I've been pretty busy right now, but yeah, I mean that will be coming out sooner than later. Let's just use generated coordinates for all this. I don't think it matters so much. It's not worth the difference. I mean, clearly, like, these triangles happen because it's not, because it's a 3D texture, but and it's cutting through these cubes, these cell grids, and that's kind of how you get that triangles there. But I think you always, when you're making characters, if you watch the time-lapse videos that I have, you start with the largest shapes first, and then you know where the eyes are going to sit. And if you can get things to look in the right, just sit in the right place, like eyes at the right height of the head, right height of the forehead, you'll end up with, that's like the foundation of having a good likeness, is having things sit in the right place. I would urge you to approach characters with sculpting because that's much more free form. You'll have a lot more control. Polymodeling can be limiting for getting the form right. If you're worried about retopology, if with my base mesh thing, the point of that is if you have something with good topology and you sculpt it and use the multi-res modifier, you can sculpt something and you might be able to avoid topology pretty much. And it really helps to have that skill and to know how to do that. If you just want the result of a character, we'll be showing how to do that. So I think let's make this thinner. I want more side to side. I kind of lost that here. So this is still an X right there, and so that's going to control the speed. And if I do it after the sine wave, I think it controls the distance. Whoa, that's quite the glitch. Maybe I should make it something kind of like that. Try using voxel remesh. The the huge difference between that and Dino Topo is, so I can show you this right now, but sculpting with Dino Topo, the developer for the sculpting tools, Pablo DeBarro, did a talk at the Blender conference a year ago, but like every time you do this, it's using the decimate mod. It's essentially decimating it every frame, so it takes it apart, and so it triangulates the mesh. If you look at this, if I turn down wireframe view here, right, it turned everything into triangles, and that's okay. That's not the scary part, but the point is, it's redoing the topology every frame, and that's what's slowing down your computer. But yeah, and if I use if I use quad remesh, it's not slow because there's a lot of geometry. It's because it's rewriting all of that geometry, and so with quad remesh, it doesn't put as much work on your computer, because even if you have, I can make this point. So look right down here. This is about 3,000 vertices, but if I put 0.01 here and then remesh it, okay, it's taking a second for me, but yeah, here, and my computer isn't, I have an i7 core processor, AMD GPU or something, but anyway, let's turn off wireframe. But right here I have all this geometry. It's not slow. If I bring in here, it's pretty nice. And if I did you use have you tried quad remesh? Do you so? I mean, yeah, you don't have to go this high poly, but and like you could model something that has good topology and then sculpt it as well. But yeah, the point here is that this way doesn't work as hard, and you don't have to go this high. Like, it depends on how much you're doing. If I did 0.1, a tenth of that. This is in meters, by the way. So we have, and then remesh. Wait, did I do this right? Remesh, 0.1. Let's turn on wireframe so we can see. Yeah, and this could be enough potentially. But if you but like, let's say, so here's a face. If I insert a loop here, insert a loop in the middle, and I bevel that, and I'm gonna put a section on the middle right there, and like I know that if I inset this, I could sculpt this and make this an eye, and then this would have a few loops in there, and then for this part of the nose, I could extrude that, but I wouldn't want that to have that many corners, so maybe I'll add another loop there, and then eventually, I'd have good quad flow, but this is turning into a sculpt thing, but I mean, it's just in a good place, and I'll get back to that, and I think this is kind of interesting, but so right here, with the multi-res modifier, the great thing about this is that if I subdivide it, it's just like the subdivision modifier, except you have these different levels. And so if I go into sculpt mode, and in preferences, I really prefer the change tab for pie menu. So now I can switch more easily. That's what I'm used to. So if I just lost that with when I updated it, so I have to bring back a bunch of settings. But I have this, and then you now have like, and it remembers this. If I go down resolution, it won't remember it here, but if we go to shape and then apply base, so it applies this higher res to the base, and now this is in better respect. It looks a bit wonky from that resolution, but then you now have something with like decent topology. This was a quick thing, and this isn't a perfect guide on that. Oh yeah, Watch Dogs. Yeah, from the new. Yeah, and I think the artist that one of the main concept artists for the new Watch Dogs things worked on Into the Spider-Verse, which kind of has like that similar glitch thing there. But yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's flattering because that's pretty cool. Always liked. Yeah, I've only played the first Watch Dogs, which I think from what I hear isn't as good as the one in Los Angeles, or I'm not sure if the new London one has come out yet, but that trailer for it was really cool, and I really liked the style. But yeah, but anyways, like, if this could be a potential workflow if you don't have a great computer, because you can just you don't have to worry about the geometry. You don't have to worry about topology so much if you just plan it ahead. There are some issues here, like if I that you can work around. So the main thing is if I go into edit mode and I insert a loop, or let's say I put a cut here, it'll kind of work with that. Let's say I like dissolve this, it'll kind of get confused a little bit. It's not so bad. There are more extreme cases. Maybe if I insert that loop. Yeah, and then I usually just smooth things out. And if I run out of topology here, this topology brush is super useful. If your computer's slow, I would stay away from the pose brush, because that can be really slow. And and if you do have a lot of geometry, it won't affect your computer so much if you use a lot of different objects, because those are separate and they're not all updating at the same time. So you could do the arm as one object, and like you'd have to bring it together eventually, and you might. I'm not sure how you do that, but on a really slow computer, but without some difficulty, maybe. Maybe you could decimate it so it has less geometry bring together or something. But the point is, there are options you have that you can do to use things. Okay, and the last thing I was going to say is it's slower if I remesh. Let's remesh. If I do this, we have this. Well, okay, this isn't actually very much geometry for me, but if you have a lot of geometry, it'll slow down if you're further away from it. Yeah, see, you might have been able to see that updated a little bit slower, because we're editing a lot of geometry all at once. But if you have less, if you use just smaller strokes, that's also better than using bigger ones, even though maybe that wasn't that visible there. Okay, so let's get back to this. So maybe let's bring the distance down a little. So that's this value here. And then let's add something to the Y. So let's have a scrolling noise, and let's use a gradient from generated from across this axis, which is X. So separate goes from here to here, and we'll have the most influence over there. So let's use a mix shader, use add. Actually let's plug this into this is actually moving up and down. So yeah, here we get this. So if we plug X into this, that makes sense because as it gets brighter, it gets higher. And yeah, so we can put that in here. And maybe this we could start at no change. And then we can yeah, add this noise texture with the gradient. So, because I want to control the factor, I'll just use another mix shader here. So, change that to multiply. And yeah, we're actually multiplying these two together, so this doesn't go in the fac. Yeah, so we can see that effect there. And try to rethink this. Yeah, well, with sculpting, just get used to that. It takes a while for something to look good, and it's okay if something doesn't look good after an hour. It can take hours to make something look good, and especially when you're starting out, just don't get bogged down by how long something takes, if you can. So, you know, if you're let's have like a repeating wave going up this way, but it's like going in one direction. So modulo will repeat things if I use an offset, referencing this frame value. So right click, just have this reroute node, so I'll just plug that in over there. Yeah, just just have fun, enjoy the enjoy the process, and the more you learn, the more things you try, the better it'll get, So we have this modulo, so I think it should be repeating, but okay, this value is probably too big, so let's multiply it. Yeah, so now we're getting something. Yeah. Small value, but not negative. I like this. Okay, cool. Let's use the this and also just make this more extreme. Maybe I'll use linear light for this, so just makes it spikier on all sides. I feel bad for this monkey. This is like, so painful. Sorry. Let's turn off all the overlays so we can focus on this. I'm trying to think. I feel like this texture is just too much. Like I just maybe used too many things. Let's make this like twice as fast, maybe. 0.06. yeah, we can shift all this down. Let's just put an add node, which this is going to the z-axis, so just bring it down here. And it just doesn't look like a monkey anymore, so let's try to remedy that. I kind of like how, like, kind of graphic, like, graphic in the sense that it's graphical, yeah, not like, gross. Let's just bring the camera out a little bit. Nice thing about emission textures is that they render faster than everything because they don't have any reflections or other surface information that needs to be calculated. Yeah, but anyway, that's kind of cool. And let's just a little further. It's just so extreme, you know, so we can multiply this at the end to adjust that difference that we have for it. If we try subdividing it, because we can't really tell it's a monkey anymore. That's maybe something we want to fix. Yeah. If we bring this down, like, let's try 0.1. Oh, yeah, this 0.1. Move that. But it's kind of cool to have it kind of spiky. Yeah, kind of like that. It's like a hand-drawn kind of feel. Okay. And then let's have like a stream of, yeah, some streams going across the world background. So that's going to be a new new shader, and then I'll be calling it a night. So we have generated coordinates. I think if I'll put a noise texture into that. Let's see what that looks like. So let's actually use Voronoi. Get these sharp values. Bring that down. Bring down the randomness. And also bring out, we just want the Z, so we have these streaks across. Yeah. And fuse random color. This looks awesome. Glad. Thank you, Digital. If I use a if I use Z, or I might need let's use radial. I want a gradient that goes all the way across, so yeah, it starts there. And if I use this to add this random value, and let's change this to, well, it'll get converted to black and white just with that. So I could just set that to 0. There's also a convert to black and white, but that's, you know, just saved a little bit of time there. And then yeah, if I change this to add, or could plug these in here. Don't even need this. And then maybe multiply it. But yeah, let's make this repeat a few times. You can kind of see the effect that it's having if we look down there. So again, we're going to use modulo. Let's make it like 0.2. And yeah, because we're dividing, that's 1 divided by 5, so let's make this 5 to readjust that range. Whoa, or not. Let's just make that. Oh, wait, yeah, sorry, make this multiply, not add. Yeah, so that's better. And let's kind of making sense of this. I'm hoping I can just like use the add to shift to this. So maybe I can use combine XYZ and then put this before the gradient so that I can distort it. Let's see. So this is separate, this is combined, so we have these complete coordinates. And just with these streaks in here. Now with this, no, I'm not getting. It's radial. I guess it's based on the X and the Y. Let's see if I. Yeah, so we're getting things if I plug them into here. But what happens if I just, yeah, plug this into grain texture? Let's see. This in Eevee displacement doesn't work, but so the changing of the geometry that makes like this work. With that, you would probably use like you could use the displacement modifier, which doesn't, you can't connect the displacement modifier without baking out your displacement maps and then putting it in there. But you can also adjust those to an object as well. Maybe I could just. Okay, let's try this. I'm going to use this gradient texture, and then just like I did in the last tutorial, and I did it in another video, the one with Mermaid Venom. We have a spherical texture and a radial. I don't know if. Yeah, let's see if this works. So, no, it's not going to be just 3D. Yeah, but I mean the really beautiful thing about Eevee and Cycles is that a lot of the surface stuff is really similar. Yeah. So I mean we're getting some different results, but like Eevee uses Cycles to, yeah, I mean it's based on Cycles. It relies on it to bake out all its textures, and we're getting a different result here for reasons I don't know. I think it's because it's a more complex material, but yeah, TV noise. Yep. I guess I could just make. Yeah, I could just do that. Let's just do that. Yeah, TV noise would be a good effect. So let's go into the camera view. Let's change this to camera. So there's our noise. And if we just plug like a, let's use a noise texture, but then take it out the Z, we could bring it in. Yeah, so we get something kind of nice there. And then maybe stretch it out a bit. So I'm going to use a vector math node and multiply. Just, yes, all these I'm going to start as 1 so it can have something to look from. And if I stretch, I think if I bring these out, this will make them thinner. If I bring them closer to 0, stretch them out, make that a bigger number. Whoa. Interesting. So just adjusting things until I see something I like. So let's make this a lot smaller. I think I went a little extreme there. So if I just plug this position into here instead, we have this noise. Oh, sorry, not multiply. Oh, yeah, let's take this out. Okay, so we're getting these pixels, and let's use linear light. To add some variation. So color is just like random values. And yeah, so let's just add a math node on that. Doesn't matter what number this is, really. Or that'll lighten it, so let's just make it 0. And let's try to make something like this. So that bigger, bring that to like pink, and add like some white in there. It doesn't have to be totally, like it should follow a similar gradient, I think, like from light to dark, but we can have some weirdness in there. Let's try windows, so we're not getting that spherical pattern. Yeah, so that's getting closer. Let's bring all this in. Kind of like that. It's nice and simple. Yeah, like that. Cool. And then let's bring this up. And we're also going to bring it down. So we'll use the same inputs for these. We're just going to counter each other so that when I shift the Voronoi texture, the coordinates up, the pixels stay in the same place. So with input, use value right here. Just gonna, again, we're just gonna reference the frame. Oh, not all caps, otherwise it won't work. Frame. And let's divide it by what I used on this guy. Or girl, I'm not sure. Oh yeah, change the object space world. So with this we used 0.02. I mean, it probably won't be proportionate to that, but let's give it a try. So 0.02. Let's see how it feels. Yes, the world, updating the world, I guess, is a lot slower. Yeah, I think it's less intensive to use just a background plane. So I could copy all this and then use it on a plane. Go to environment, texture, remove. Sorry. Like, because we don't need any realistic lighting or anything, so we don't need to render out that whole spherical thing. You incorporate that into our texture. So if I just have a plane and then rotate it so it fits, kind of. We could actually just, if I go into tools right here, we can, if I select the camera, oh shit, excuse me. Let's open up Blender again, I think. Yeah, so it's just crashed. Let's make sure I can see the chat here. So I want to see if I can recover it. So auto save. And that was saved at 1802. Okay, so that was at 6. Oh no. So let's open glitch. Okay, so that's better. Oh, and we were working on the world texture, so we'll just redo that, and yeah, that'll be okay. That'll be quick. We know what we're doing. Let's go to object, go to frame. Let's just position that plane. And we could, if you open this and then right-click the camera, I'm not sure why that failed last time, but I think you can just copy the look. You'd have to do it piece by piece, maybe, but you could copy the coordinates over to this one. Or no, you could you can just do like Shift S, selection to active. So this is the active mesh. So and I think that should have the same rotation too. Doesn't look like it does though. Anyway, yeah, you could also do that as a constraint. If I bring that over there, anyway, let's just kind of eyeball this. Okay, yeah. I say that for anybody because I don't know who's watching, Want this to be good for all ages and abilities, Yeah, so let's use, yeah, so I probably will still apologize if I say stuff. Even if that, even if to me that's not important. Yeah, because you never know who's watching. Bring that down. And then, yeah, let's use noise texture. This is going to be way easier just using a plane. So, because we know how the mapping works. So, yeah, if I use multiply, stretch it out. And then, no, she's from Canada, I think she said. But, yeah, but it's good. Good to be friendly for wherever you come from. It doesn't matter. And it's good to keep your information private. It's nice and safe. Um, yeah, we can put frame. Multiply that. So if we make this a small value. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I want to be authentic and also thoughtful to other people. Yeah, I think there's a way of doing both. So, yeah. I like, I think it makes me seem more thoughtful too if I'm like, oh, shouldn't have said something like that. Yep. Yeah, we had snow. It comes and goes. It's right here. We can just, use this position. So that'll pixelate the noise. So we can see that, and then again, we'll, just as we did before, let's add that randomness. So linear light, let's save this. So the randomness from this Vornite texture. Yeah. And it's actually we can use some of these colors as well. That can be, there's some color static here that's kind of cool, and that kind of works with what we're doing here. So let's combine that with, okay. Yeah. I guess in Canada you kind of have to love snow in order to live there, right? Midwest is pretty, cold as well, but yeah, wouldn't compare it to Canada. To do something like that, and then I have, let's do a screen, and then Shift D, switch that to less than. That'll lighten up. Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, not everybody chooses where they live also, but yeah. I guess it's a little bit surprising, yeah. It's funny. I don't know you're from Australia. These colors to really stand out, so that's kind of why I'm trying to find the balance in this. So I'm gonna try adding the linear light at the end, just with that variation again. Okay. Yeah, and then with the Voronoi variation. And let's make this like really random. So we could make that like 5. We could stretch this out more. It still feels kind of like it's galloping or something. So I'm gonna stretch that out. Yeah, let's bring the camera in. Save it. Yeah. Yeah, so now we can render it. If I turn on denoising, if you have a not very great computer, you can use open image denoise, and just bring this down really low. It might make, more likely it'll make more mistakes, but this is really smart at smoothing things out. Yeah, I could actually had this set up so wasn't working so hard in the viewport, but yeah, open image denoise. It's really incredible. You just watch how quick this renders and how it looks. I mean, this is emissive texture, so it's not very costly. But like only like 3 samples. Whoa. I was not expecting all that special displacement. And I forgot about that other background that I had set up, so good. Yeah, if you have it hidden, it's not hidden from the render, so good for you, man. Thanks. Did you get affected by fires and floods in 2020? Yeah, pretty cold, yeah. Okay. I looked out of the house. Yeah. Yeah, that must be tough with all the fires happening. So this will render pretty quick. I'll just have it at 1, and then check open image denoise. Let's just have one more test render. Just taking a few seconds. Oh, and then now it's doing the denoise. So it kind of smooths out the values here, tries to make sense of them. And yeah, pretty cool. It's going to be kind of repetitive, so actually this time, like, we weren't even paying attention to how long this was, so just make it 2 seconds. 60 frames. And Control F2 just to render it out. Yeah, I really hacked it. I thought, yeah, people love to say hack, like, it just makes programming so much cooler, So I thought that would be a good thing to include in the thumbnail. You can see how rapidly it changes colors from this. Oh, actually, yeah, I'm making a huge mistake here because I didn't change the file type from image. So now it's running out a bunch of images somewhere. I'll have to clean that up. And let's just use encoding. It's just extemp4. I think that's good format. And then, yeah, if you had audio, don't make the mistake of not including the audio. Blue, yeah. So there's some blue. There's a light blue, kind of prefer. Kind of see more. I feel like the background, I just want to make, I think I want to make that like less bright. Yeah, so I'm gonna darken all this. And then yet another mix node. Change it to, yeah, multiply. Let's just make things darker and kind of bluer. Oh yeah, and if I use like CG, that's right, gamma, turn that up. Now let's use brightness contrast. Turn up the contrast. Just, you know, make it feel like a compressed video. Just playing with the colors. Yeah, it's hard to look at her. Yeah, I'm hacking your eyes. Okay. Yeah, and because this is all emissive, I think, you know, and just for a quick render, I don't even need open image denoise, but it's really fast and you can get great results. You kind of lose the higher frequency details. Yeah. Did I render animation? Yeah. Let's see how long it takes. So we're already in frame 2, so that's nice. With emissive, it doesn't take long. Like I said, there's not a lot of surface variation. Yeah, I think it would do good to have more noise in the back. This is probably good for now. Alright, so just 50 frames more. We can see how quickly it's changing. And all these bumps is from the roughness in it. Oh, interesting how that kind of just disappeared in this one. So I mean, this one isn't going to take long because the emissive textures. You can see if we go down to the loading thing and roll over this, it's going to take another minute. Time elapse. So it doesn't know how long it's going to take. Probably because it's a short video and it won't take the time to estimate. It's taken has it taken like a minute? So maybe it'll take like 3 minutes to get done. Let me check how long this has been going on for. Okay, about 2 hours. That's nice. Not so bad. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, Eevee is a lot faster. I mean, if you set your samples down, use AI denoise, you could do a lot with a pretty average computer. Yeah, I think the way to go, if you're rendering an animation, is use, you know, most of your shots aren't going to be that long, so render them out separately and maybe use like another editing program to edit them together. I think the edit video rendering is kind of slow in Blender unless you like use a um, you know there's this site GDQuest that does videos on the video editing in Blender, and they might have some suggestions on like faster video rendering. But yeah. So if like you did it in steps, because yeah, I mean it's pretty rare to finish minute long animation in you know even in a few days or something. So unless you're using like mocap or other tricks or simulations or something, but it's pretty rare that you'll need to render a whole minute of animation. Yeah, so if you do it as you go, it won't feel so bad. But it is nice to know what things are going to look like when you do it. Yeah. The only thing about open image noise, if you're using it for animation, I'm not sure if they fixed this, but it didn't work with motion blur. Like it doesn't know what to do with that in an image, so yeah, it's like some kind of strange-ish results. The biggest challenge I can think of is probably I think the only challenge worth doing is just going through the whole workflow of modeling, UV unwrapping, texturing your model, and then rigging it and then animating it. Because yeah, most people don't go through the whole workflow, and they might. Yeah, and I think people, some people overmodel things, and a lot of people don't know UV unwrapping. And if you kind of avoid UV unwrapping, I don't know, if you learn UV unwrapping, you'll be ahead of a lot of people, I think. And I think out of the whole workflow, that's the most challenging thing. I mean, I don't think it's challenging once you get. For me, it was, I just had to get my brain wrapped around it, how to map 2D textures to a 3D thing, and do that efficiently, and like what the standards are for that, because that's kind of not covered very much. Yeah, so yeah, well, now I'll be doing some of that specific to character stuff, and that's where it matters the most. I mean, there's the most maybe specifications on like how they like it to be organized. They being the industry, I guess. But like yeah, if you could get to the point that you could do UV mapping, that would be an accomplishment. Like these are all things you could achieve, like any modeler could, but getting, it's easy to get stuck on one step. If you can, maybe download models that are free online, find websites for that, and maybe I'll make videos more on those resources. I will be doing the one on the base meshes, free base meshes, and practice unwrapping. And if you don't have access to another program, look at how they're doing it. Like I've learned tons from ZBrush artists because I can do a lot of similar things in Blender to get very similar results. I wish this was only 45 seconds now. Yeah. I think, and another side of that question is the biggest challenge is doing things that in really efficient ways. Inefficient, that's the biggest challenge because, why would you do something that you don't enjoy that much, don't feel very creatively liberated, and, doesn't give you the end result that you want? And, and for that I would probably put Nodevember at the end of that. Can you spend a lot of time doing something that you don't really enjoy? Well, I enjoy nodes, and I think you guys can kind of see that, but it's not as freeing a process as maybe drawing or modeling, sculpting. texture, paint, yeah. So, yeah. Those are the two sides of that, but don't start with the most challenging thing. It's cool to have like a project and a clear vision for what you want. Um, like, you know, you don't need, if you're gonna make a character and you want to make him the coolest thing, don't give him like 20 pouches. I mean, that could be a cool thing, but um, you might be able to give the same message if you put like 2 pouches on the character or something. Um, that they're like resourceful or whatever. Oh, is this done? Is this done rendering? Did I? Oh yeah, it finished. Okay, so it's good. That's. I wish there was like a clear message. Like I wish it would like annoy me like with like a beep or something, or if I could like automate it opening. So let's copy this file path and file explorer. You can see all my files. Great. And date. I've got some big video files in this folder, so that's why it's taking a little bit of time. Yeah, before I start my December challenge, hopefully I'll have a video and I'll talk about the challenge. It might be part of that base mesh, but yeah, so here it is. I feel like I'm seeing the red more than anything. What color are you guys seeing the most? That might be like a psychological test. Can I loop it with this video player? Auto repeat, okay, yep. Yeah, I mean, just start with something you like. Think of like elements, you know, or different animals. Think endangered animals, or you know, just things that matter, things that are interesting. Why are they interesting? Put it together. Combine just a few things. Don't combine too many things. Maybe. A red's there 3 times. Okay. Yeah, we're not seeing. Okay. That's good to know. Thanks. Could adjust that more. Blue's there. Oh, blue's there 3 times, and there's yellow. There's yellow again. There's yellow again. So I think it is cycling through all of them. It's just, yeah, we probably see red the most. If we look at the color ramp, we'll probably see why. Yeah, it's pretty evenly distributed. But, yeah, whatever. So that's a result. Thanks. Thanks for joining me again, you guys. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna be taking off now.